Okay, hello everybody. This is Leonard Johnson with the Run the Hammer podcast and the Coordinator Corner. That's what I decided to name it because I couldn't come up with. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't come up with a name for it. So we're just going to call it the Coordinator Corner. And tonight we have one of the brightest guys in the state, I think. And we're going to get to know this guy and see what's going on with him. And we were talking earlier. I was asking him if I ever met him, and I couldn't figure it out, if we had ever met. But that doesn't matter anyway. Hell, I meet people all the time, man. They say we met somewhere, and I don't know if that's that thing setting in on me. I just can't remember sometime. But we'll get going with him, and before we get started, a lady who was very instrumental in my growth in football. One of the people, Dr. Rose Wilder, she passed away yesterday. And when I was at Scotch Branch, I always tell a joke. She hired me, and I don't know if she hired me because nobody else wanted the job or what, but she had enough faith in me to hire me. Yesterday she passed, and the funny story I tell about that is that I'm gonna hire you, Johnson, but I'm gonna cut your salary too. So and I said, okay. Let's see how that roll. But again, if you if you love the game of football and you love kids and everything, I say it all the time. If you do it, if you can get to the place where you can do this thing for free, then you're probably on the right road of doing some good things, because you're not going to get rich coaching. You got to be in the right mind frame, and it's always the kids first, and helping these kids and being a role model for these kids. And that's always been my mantra through all these years. So I don't think we have any announcement except all these podcasts are sponsored by my insurance agency. And if especially you younger guys, if you need help in setting up your alternative retirement program, hit me up. I can show you how to do some miraculous things in this financial setting and everything. And I guess that's why I can be so opinionated, because my show, my dollar, my penny. So I can say just what anything I want, but we'll keep it good. All right. So let's get on to with show tonight with Carlos Hill, the offensive coordinator at Eau Claire High School. And this is going to be interesting because most of the guys I know, but like in my insurance business, a lot of times I meet people I've never sat down and talked to in my life, and they end up being some of the most enjoyable times. And it's really easy for me because most people know I'm very quiet and shy, believe it or not. So what we're going to do is make me small and make Carlos big. And I always screw this up. Let's do this again, okay? Always pick the wrong. Here we go. Oh, that's still not it. You would think here we go. You think doing this thing for the last 6-7 weeks, you figure this out. But again, you don't have to have a brain surgery. Hello, Carlos. How you doing this evening, man?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Coach?
Yeah, everything is always good. You wake up and you just thank God for another day that you can, make an impact to somebody's life and everything. You want to? I read your bio, and it's posted up there on Facebook. So be careful what you say, because people will come back and say, "Well, he said." Tell people who this Carlos Hill is.
Well, Carlos Hill. I'm from the city of Greer, South Carolina, in the upstate. Graduated from Greer High School in '95. Then I went to Benedict College, graduated from BC. The year 2000, I'm having to recalculate these years in my head. Um, Went to USC Upstate to become certified in secondary education, and then came back down here to Columbia. I have an interesting journey, interesting trail. I was working at DJJ when I was becoming certified to teach, finishing up my last bit of the certification.
That's
Got
my
a
son calling
got a
me.
little background music on.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Hey, it's all good. Family, man. I predicted somebody would probably call me. I better go ahead and mute this thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
gonna do.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, I was working at DJJ when I was finishing up my certification to teach, and lo and behold, I got my first teaching job at Fairfield Central. This was in the year 2008. All right, became a teacher 2008. Um, had always loved the game of football. Like it says in the bio, I only played 1 year, organized year in my whole life. And I'll get back to that point in a second. But was always interested in getting into coaching. And the year 2012, Demetrius Davis, head coach at Fairfield, off the Buddy Pugh coaching tree.
Mhm.
He gave me my first job. I was working in the building, and he told me, straight up, all I need is some people that's going to care about the kids, be willing to work with the kids. And he knew I was a classroom teacher. He knew what type of teacher I was. And he said, the football, the X's and O's, that's the easy part. I teach you what to do when it comes to X's and O's. As long as you care about the kids, love the kids, and you can teach them up, coach them up, this thing will be real easy to you, and it's going to change your life. He told me that, and he was right. He was right. It did change my life. I think it made me more disciplined, because when you're a coach, I think you have to walk the walk. You know, Players, they can smell fake. They can smell it. You up there telling them do the right thing, and be on time and cross your T's, dot your I's, etc., etc. But you have to model that. Um, they hear with their eyes
Mhm.
is one thing that I always believe. So you can't just be a person who's talking the talk. You got to actually walk the walk. So it improved my life. Um, and like I said, I never fake it with the guys. Um, and that was a blessing the way that I came into the coaching profession, having been a classroom teacher first, because as Coach Darryl Page says all the time, coaching is teaching. And I think I brought a lot of elements from the classroom experience into the coaching. One thing being the attention span of the student. The attention span of the student is the same thing with the player. I laugh, because I see some coaches, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but guys, they'll have a 30-minute film session, and they just up there talking with the film rolling, and I'm like, man, these kids are checked out, man. You gotta cut that thing to probably about 7-8 minutes, and then get them up and actually put them on the board and let them draw the plays up and break it
Mhm.
down, that type of thing. So um, that was the benefit of having been in the classroom, bringing that to the coaching profession. And like Coach Davis said, the X's and O's was the easy part. Um, I came in as an open book. That was another advantage. You get some guys who come in and you know they played at the University of dot dot dot, and I was all region, all American, blah blah blah, and they know it all.
Mhm.
I came in as an open book. I knew that I didn't know anything as close to what the guys around me, what they knew. So I was willing to just soak it all up, absorb. I was a student. I mean, some guys laugh at me now when I go to clinics, to the coaches clinic here in South Carolina, or to the Glacier. I sit on the front row. I'm a nerd. I'm trying to get it. Um, and I've been blessed. I've been blessed, like I say, working at Fairfield with Coach Davis. Um, some of the other guys that was on that staff. You had Scotty Dean, who was on that staff. He's not a head coach, C.A. Johnson. You had Andre Cook, who was on that staff at one time, head coach now at Airport. Greg Wright was on that staff at one time. You had a great defense coordinator, David Toney. I mean, I just learned from all these guys, all of them, and I'm just indebted, to what they taught me as far as being a professional. And not only that, but also how to manage life outside of football. Juggle the two, because it's not easy, not easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to segue into that. You mentioned the balance part, which is very important. One of the worst things I did in my life, I didn't have good balance. And when I first started coaching, which was back out in Texas, and the competitive spirit thing got to you, where you had to win, or they for real will fire you.
Oh, yeah.
High school. But you got a family, I assume, and
yes,
you got wife and kids and everything.
I have a wife. I have a
Let's
son.
Let's talk about that queen, because I know that's in order for you to operate effectively, she has to be happy.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about Mama for a minute.
Well, like you said, when you first started, you didn't have a balance, and I didn't either.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was the one who brought me down to earth, so to speak, and made me kind of step back and say, you know what, this football is good, is great, but it's not everything. It's not everything. And like you say, you have to achieve that balance. You got to understand that it is competitive. It's a lot of hours that go into it, a lot of work. But when you do have some time, and you got to be purposeful about the time as well. The same way that you schedule out a practice, you may have to schedule some time to do just whatever, and make sure that all attention is being shared in other aspects. Because I'm guilty, even if I'm not, at work. If it's a Saturday, I'm locked in. I mean, I'm looking forward to this weekend with the college football kickoff. But I used to be one of those that would watch the games all day, but now I know I got to dial that back, scale it back.
Well, good thing they got what's that thing they call when you record the thing now? When you record the game.
Right.
Yeah, good thing they got that. Now,
Yeah.
now you say you had a couple of kids, and
Well, I have a 5-year-old. Excuse me, not 5 years old, in the 5th grade.
okay,
10-year-old, double that.
Okay.
Double that, yeah. 10-year-old son, and I have an older who is 19 now, who is actually in college. Well, finishing up his studies, Greenville Technical College.
Okay. Did he participate in athletics, or?
He was actually a wrestler.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's fantastic. I coached wrestling, and I had to learn wrestling, because when I started coaching wrestling, I thought it was the WWE and all that stuff. When I had to learn that thing, but I really got to enjoy it once I learned all the aspects of it and everything. Now, what does your wife do? She teach also?
Actually, right now she is at South Carolina-Upstate working with the online learning, the distance learning.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So she's an educator also.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, good for you. Okay, great. Now, when did this bug of coaching hit you? When did it bite you in the tail?
Well, like I say, I mean, it's always been there. I think when I look back at my life, I was in high school. I was a sports writer. I was always into sports. Um, and matter of fact, I went into college initially to major in journalism. Um, didn't actually see the future in it, so I changed my major. And I always liked working with kids anyway, and wanted to have an impact, wanted to have an influence. So that's why I went into education and history. Um, but yeah, I was always intrigued as far as the game of football, game of basketball. Also, that's another one of my loves. Um, and once I got in the building, you know, Fairfield, they have a rich football tradition. I remember, matter of fact, being in high school, well, just graduating from high school, being at Benedict. I remember those Fairfield teams. Um, what year was this? 97, that 96, 97 team. And back in those days, the internet wasn't popping like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So you would read the scores in the Saturday morning paper, and Fairfield 60-0,
Mm-hmm.
65-0, and I'm like, who is this Fairfield? Like, what kind of boys they got down there? And they just beating the brakes off everybody like that. So I started. That's how I first heard about them. And I mean, I didn't just hunt them out as far as the teaching job. They were looking for teachers, so that's how I landed there. And like I say, once I got in the building, I mean, it was going to happen sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. And now you came in with Demetrius, or were you there when Demetrius
he,
got there?
I was there before he got there. He came. He came the year. He was there 1 year before I joined him on the staff.
Okay.
Reggie Kennedy was there right before that.
Okay. Reggie hired you.
No, sir. Demetrius Davis hired me.
Demetrius hired you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Got you. That's right, Coach. Reggie left to go to Blythewood, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard to keep up with Coach Kennedy now.
Yeah, he's all over the place sometimes. Now you coach. You start out as an assistant, I would assume.
Yes.
And what position did you coach there?
Well, I started out as wide receivers, working with wide receivers. Then I think one of the coaches left for another teaching job in another district, and he was the JV head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I approached Coach Davis about becoming a JV head coach. I wouldn't mind taking on that role, and he approved it. So I worked with the varsity receivers and was head coach of the JV. And then we had some fun times in those years. We had a streak. I think we put together, I want to say 14, 15 games in a row. We had an undefeated season with that JV unit, and it was just fun because those Thursday nights, you never know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also a blessing because a lot of coaches I see, and I laugh again. You spend all this time watching huddle and making the game plan, et cetera, et cetera. Then on Friday night, the team come out and do something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So, we not having that luxury of knowing what to expect on Thursday nights, what it does is forces you to focus more on your team than focusing on the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
You're not prepping for the opponent. You're just prepping your guys, and whatever comes, boom, we're gonna be ready for it.
Now, how long did you coach The JV, the head, be the head.
2014 to 2020. So that's
Okay,
that's
6 years.
6 years, yes, sir.
Okay. And then you moved on from there, or you just got
I went.
promoted to another position on at Fairfield.
Well, what happened? You had the COVID season that came,
Gotcha.
and I actually sat out the COVID season, and then a job I was offered teaching.
You did personally?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. You weren't sick or anything. You just said
No, no. I wasn't sick. I was just kind of weary about. I didn't know how that thing was gonna play out. I was like, hey man, I see a lot of people get sick and going to the hospital. I don't know now. We need to be worried about playing football right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I sat out that COVID year, and then the next year, I had a job offer at Blythewood High, teaching position. So I contacted the head coach over there, Jason Seidel, and I told him, I'm going in for a teaching interview, and if you have any positions on your football team, I mean, I wouldn't mind being one of your assistant coaches. So went to Blythewood, became the running backs coach, and that was another blessing because I worked with one of the best athletes, in my opinion, that I've ever seen, Desmond Boatwright. He was a running back for Blythewood 2022, excuse me, 2021. And right now he's a freshman at the Citadel. So, I mean, he was a stud. And like I say, the blessing with working with him is that, as a coach, you wanna say that you took somebody to a higher level. So when I got him, he was already at a high level. So I analyzed his game. I went back and watched every single game that he played, and I'm like, okay, what can I give this kid that's going to actually make him even better? Because he's already the best player on the team. He's the best athlete in the school. So I was looking at just some things that he was doing, small things such as inside zone. He wasn't really squaring his shoulders, hitting the hole. His pass protection, he was doing the little chicken wing thing instead of. So I'm like, all right. So I got some stuff that I'm going to work him and make him even better, and that way I can at least feel good and say that I contributed, to him getting better, as opposed to just being a coach that's riding the coattail of a guy that's a great athlete.
Do you do that with all of your kids? Because I see that a lot of coaches spend time with the prime time players, and don't give that same enthusiasm
Right
to the other players.
Right. That's my motto with every kid is leave it better than you found it. If they good, take them to great. If they're a scrub, make them at least serviceable. That's my thing. And if you have that one position group that you can work, so with the running backs, we only had 4 running backs in the whole group. That allowed me to be able to really dig into it a lot deeper, as opposed to say wide receivers where you every kid think they're wide receiver if they're not playing running back or quarterback. So
what do you think is the most important thing that an assistant coach should know? What
most important thing assistant coach should know, it is not your turn yet. It's not your turn. All right. So, you may have some great ideas, philosophies, et cetera, but win-loss is going to go under that head coach's name. So if the head coach wants XYZ, then it's your job to get XYZ delivered as best as possible. It's not your place. Now, obviously, you put your ideas on the table, but if it gets turned down, it gets turned down. And you don't Um, you don't carry that grudge or say, "Oh man, I told him that wasn't gonna work." Blah, blah, blah. No. You do what you're told to do as best as you can do it, and just try to make him shine. So through him shining, that's going to help you as an assistant. Because like you said at the beginning, the head coaches they get a lot of glory, but people also who know the game, they look behind the head coach and say, all right, who's the guy that's coordinating that offense, that defense, who's coaching that D line, who's coaching those linebackers. Those guys are really coming downhill and hitting those gaps pretty hard. So that if you make him shine, you're gonna shine in the process.
Have you've been with 3 head coaches now? You Demetrius, Seidel,
And now Shaq Hilton.
and Shaq. Do you have? Did you and do you have healthy debates? Now, I choose that word.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious about the word because I think one thing that I did not use in coaching was arguing.
Right.
And I think grown men need to get out of the arguing thing. All right, let's have a debate. Now,
Yeah.
were you? Did they appreciate your healthy debate if you brought it to the table?
Yes. So it's a learning process. So like I say, Coach Davis was the first. So when you use the word debate, it is really no debate. Is you put your idea on the table. Either he like it or he don't, and if he don't, he gonna shut it down pretty quick.
When did you get to the point with Davis to where you felt comfortable doing that, bringing something to the table?
Probably when I had a better just understanding of the overall offense. It's not, and that's the thing that I tell other coaches, on the staff. I'm not, as an offensive coordinator, I'm not the dictator of the offense. If you got an idea, bring it. But when you bring it, have some evidence to support what you're saying. It's a lot easier to present an idea when you can go to the huddle film and point out, all right, on play 76, this happened, as opposed to just saying, well, I think this might work, or I think no. You can't walk in with I think. You got to walk in with I seen, or from what I've seen this player do in practice, and be able to show it on film, or be able to have the coach look at such and such in practice and say, yeah, I think he might be able to do it, as opposed to just giving your opinion. Now you kind of stating it more as a fact, or something that has some evidence supporting it. With Coach Seidel, so like I said, I had a pretty good grasp, understanding the offense by the time I got to Blythewood. So anytime I came to him with an idea, like I said, I could just point to the film and he would make his decision whether or not he liked it. Mm-hmm. And with Coach Hilton, he's more of a defensive guy anyway, and he's younger, so he kind of leans a little bit more towards trusting my knowledge of what I'm talking about. As far as anytime I bring something to the table.
Do you appreciate that?
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that question because you find a lot of guys, a lot of staff, no matter what your title is, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do, and come hell or water, right. And we're not going to change, and you're blessed to be in a situation, like that. What made you think you wanted to be an offensive coordinator?
Well, I came in on the offensive side of the ball. That's what I did all my studying for the first part. Um, and then, obviously you learn that in order to know offense, you got to know defense,
Mm.
and vice versa. In order to know defense, you got to know offense. So, but I mean, I don't think there's anything stopping me from coaching defense at some point. But you know, I have a philosophy that is highly debated, and that is offense wins championships.
Mhm.
And when I say that, a lot of guys automatically assume that means you got to throw the ball 50 times, or you have to have a no-huddle offense, or you got to be fast-paced, breakneck. But the offense can really dictate a football game um, in more ways than just scoring a lot of points. You could be a 3 yard and a cloud of dust team, and I've witnessed this happen. You know, if a team every time you look up is 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, that's a long night for the defense, and
Mhm.
that is another way that the offense can control the game. Um, I'm real big on execution. I like coming up with plays. I like trick plays, coming up with trick plays. Uh, but I just like dissecting the defense and seeing how can we punch this thing into the box, and light this scoreboard up.
You have how many guys do you have working? And let me ask this the right way. Do you have an offensive staff like on offensive line, running backs, receivers, and everything? Do you have that working with you enough on the offensive side of the ball?
No. Yeah. So that was
Go
that
ahead.
that was a big adjustment there.
Uh-huh.
Coming to a two way school, and I mean, you've been at the smaller schools,
Mhm.
but to your credit, you came home with the hardware. So, but everybody is chipping in where they can chip in. So
Mhm.
for example, D line coach, he helps us with the O line. Linebacker coaches help us with the running backs. We do have a wide receivers coach, Tommy Samuel, young guy, and I think he's one of the brightest wide receiver coaches that's up and coming in the game. He really gets those guys going. Um, but yeah, as far as the offensive staff, no, we're not that deep at a 2A school.
Just thought I would throw it out there, man.
Yeah,
I know what you're going through there because I feel you. Okay, let's put it like that. And you got to do what you have to do in order to make what you want to do go. You
right,
can't look at
and
it. The worst thing to do is compare yourself with another school and get
and
yourself in a whole bunch of trouble.
yeah, but I would say one of the blessings with it is that you end up doing a lot more team, as
Mhm.
opposed to individual. Um, and I think the kids benefit from team more, more 11 on 11 as opposed to just the individual drills. And some, I mean, you know how it is.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have coaches that doing drills just to do a drill, and the drill don't correlate to nothing on the field. So
Exactly. Been there
yeah.
and done that. Yeah. Now, are you? I I have not seen you play. Haven't looked at um, videos of you, and I do that for a reason. What is your philosophy when it comes to offensive football?
It's a little bit of everything. First of all, I believe in formatting to whatever the personnel can do. Um, so I have a philosophy that can be adapted to 10 personnel. If we got if you got tight end bodies, we can go 11 or 12.
Mhm.
We got dominant running backs, we can go 20. Um, but right now at Eau Claire, I think the thing that we found is spread. 10 personnel is going to be pretty good to us. We can go 11 from time to time with an H-back, or well, I call it 20, but most people call it 11 from the defensive side. They treat the H-back just like a tight end. So I think that's going to be good for us. I like pistol. We run a little pistol. We run some zone read, power read. It's nothing new under the sun as far as play wise. It's just a combination of different things I picked up along the way, in my opinion.
You let me ask you like this way: if you had to go to the bank, and this is we're gonna do this, dude. No matter what happened, this is what we're gonna be good at it. What would it be? And not necessarily a play, just what is that? What is that identifies you and the brand? That's what I'm looking for. That's what everybody is saying. What brand are you looking for to put on the Oakley offensive side of the ball?
So with me, the key word is efficiency. Want to be efficient in what we do, whatever it is. I want to be able to move the chains. Want to be able to win games, or at least put the kids in the best position to win. So yes, efficiency would be the brand. One of my favorite books, Bill Walsh, let the score take care of itself, and I believe that phrase. As long as you execute, everybody does their assignment, everybody does their job. Everything will work out the way it should work out. Play wise, well, you didn't say play, but play wise, if it was a run play, it would have to be power read. If it was a pass, it would have to be the snag concept.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of times I talk to coaches, they're not grounded into what they believe in, and they try to do everything. And obviously you can't do everything, but you got to find something that you believe in, that you can brand yourself when and say, this is what we're going to do. And then everything else will fly from that. Now, how have you, this is your first year at Eau Claire, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How have you and the kids mesh?
It's been good. It's been real good. I came in. I'm one of the older heads on the staff. We have a pretty young staff, but like I said, kids they can smell fake. They can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I came in and I was just straight up with them as far as this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it. And it's not a thing of coming in, peeling the paint off the wall, yelling and shouting and all that type of stuff. But once they see that you know what you're talking about, some wheels start clicking. I remember distinctly there was a play during 7-on-7. I think we call like a post wheel or something. And I told the quarterback before the snap, I said, the running back's going to be wide open. And lo and behold, the running back was wide open. Mm-hmm. So, and the kid, I heard him, he turned to another kid. He was like, man, how the world coach knew that? So I think, once they see that you know what you're talking about, that buy-in is a little bit easier.
Yeah. Now, how was it? You lost last week, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. How has the preparation been this week?
Man, So you try not to beat them down. Try not to
Yeah.
beat them down, of course. Point out your positives, but obviously you got to point out your mistakes.
Mhm.
Um, and we made some mistakes, big time. Penalties. We are not a team right now that's good enough to shoot ourselves in the foot and think that it's not going to affect the outcome. So the penalties kicked us in the butt. Um, we had a few plays that we left on the field, you know, just a missed block here, a bad read there, uh, and we had a circumstance, a curveball thrown at us before the game. I don't want to get too deep into that, but long story short, starting quarterback didn't play, so that had a serious impact on the outcome.
Okay. Was that a personal thing or just
No,
this?
that was a little bit above our head. So
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
right,
Gotcha. 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 Okay. No problem. No problem. Yeah. I read something about it, but I didn't pay that much attention and everything to it.
right, right.
And I said, and I just, I thought it was some kind of equipment thing. I didn't know what the story was. But everything is all right now.
Oh yes,
From
sir.
that?
Yes, sir.
Good. 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 Those kids come from a different environment,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's tough down there sometimes.
Yes, sir.
How do you love them up? How do you keep them focused on success instead of going back into into the into the streets?
Right. And I can't even honestly say that I have a complete answer to that.
Mhm.
Because you're dealing with that's not just the old class thing. That's unfortunately that's a nationwide thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. But with these kids specifically, I'm kinda of the cloth that kids want structure. They want discipline. They want to be held to a standard. They want to be held accountable. Um, I feel I feel that our public education system is kind of getting soft. I was having this conversation this morning with one of the teachers, and it's just some things where, and especially with young black men, um, where people are letting things slide, you know, out of fear of wanting to say something to him.
Hmm.
I don't want to say something to him because he might say something back, or
Hmm.
I don't want to say something to him because what good is it going to do? They're going to do what they want to do. Blah blah blah. I don't have that philosophy. I think you know you come at them from a place of love, and you got to explain to them that discipline is love. You
Hmm.
know, if I didn't love you, if I didn't care about you, I just let you float around, do what you want to do. I'll let you come and go how you want to come and go. But the fact that I do care about you, we're gonna hold you to a standard. We're gonna expect you to be where you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to be doing. That sort of thing. And I think when you outline that to kids, because nobody wants to be a failure, nobody. So when you explain to a kid why, and I think that goes back. What's my guy Simon Sinek? He had the book. It starts with why.
Hmm.
You explain to kids why we are doing this. Um, it clicks a little bit better to them as opposed to just coming in and thinking that you're going to be a dictator and
Hmm.
just I'm gonna come in and lay down the law. No, no. You ain't gonna lay down. You ain't gonna lay down no law with this generation right here. Now.
No, that don't work too much today.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
So yeah, explain why, and then they'll see it. They'll see it, and the ones who want it, and you got to understand, you can't save everybody.
hmm.
You can't. But it's a lot more who want it than who don't want it. I'll put it
Right.
like that.
Yeah. I tell young coaches all the time, I always ask them their name. And I said, what's your name? And they tell me their name. And I always say, is Jesus in there? You can't say them all. The only thing you can do is preach the gospel. And those who will, those who won't. But you
Yes,
so
sir.
try to save those who want, but don't get down because you lose them, because even Jesus lost some of them.
Right.
Everybody is not there, and I think the only thing that we can do is care about them, keep preaching, be consistent, and just
That's
show
it.
the love every day, and sooner or later that light bulb is going to come on, and you you just don't know where they are.
Right.
Some of
Right.
these kids live in very difficult situations, and you
Yeah.
got to, the coaching in the inner city is much different than coaching out on the suburbs. And if you
Definitely.
don't understand that dynamic, then you are not going to be as successful there. Um, you don't know much about um, the administrator there, but are they happy with the progress that they see what you're trying to accomplish there at Eau Claire? I'm talking about the staff and everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They're supportive of what the direction, that we're trying to
Hmm.
take it. Um, Administrator, well, actually, the new principal that just came in this year, Montgomery. I can't think his first name right off top, but yes, Mr. Montgomery, principal, and he's there. He's there. He gets it.
Hmm.
He understands that, like you said, the environment, what we're working with, what we're dealing with, and he wants to see them succeed. Not only in football, of course, but in life. Um, and that's one of the things, going back to what we were just talking about with the kids getting it and the light bulb coming on. I've been in it long enough to see, you know, kids who as the ninth grade, you like, man, this boy ain't gonna make it. But
Yeah.
but you see them maybe a year after graduation, and they got this good job, and they just
Uh-huh.
on the right track,
Yeah.
and you like, yeah, yeah. So you never know, like you say, when the light gonna come on for them, and how they're gonna turn out. So you never give up on one of them.
Now, the relationship between you and Hilton, I assume, is one that you on the same page, as I said. You
Yes,
know
sir.
where you want to take this program to. I'm going to assume that and everything. Okay. Is it a good? Have y'all gotten up to a good start? Just Shaq was on the program earlier. He was there for a year. And how do you feel that this effort of turning this school around, getting that success you want? Are we all on the same page and everything?
Yes, yes. I mean, he, to be 29 years old, he is above. Well, I think he's in front of the curve. I'll say, as far as maturity, professionalism. Um, he has a growth mindset. He's always looking for the best solution,
Hmm.
the best way to do it. Um, like I said before, with my philosophy of not being a dictator, that's not his style either. He's open to listening to whatever ideas may come. Um, and he does, man, he does a lot behind the scenes. Because, like you were saying about the environment, the community, he does a lot that obviously that's not going to get written about on a Saturday morning sports report. But as far as helping kids, bending over backwards for kids, I mean, he is there, and I think he is the right guy in the right spot at the right time, because those kids, they really need a guy like him who's just coming all heart, you know.
Mhm.
And I try to tell him, like I said just a second ago, you know, he can't save everybody, but I don't think he really bought into that yet.
No, he shouldn't.
Yeah. He shouldn't, not yet,
Yeah,
not yet.
not yet. No, he shouldn't. Because he got to. Um, and I say that I said that to say don't beat yourself down.
Right.
Because one is one is going awry. You can come back and get them, but you still got some ones who really need your help. Just make sure you helping them, but reach back, try to bring him along. You too. And then sooner or later the light will come on. You eventually, I assume, want to be a head coach. Is that?
Hey, um, that is a yes, and sometimes it's a no.
Let's
Um,
talk about it.
yeah. You know, um, I I see what they do that's outside of football, and it's not, it's not what a lot of people think. It's not what a lot of people think. Um, I mean, there's a lot of hats that's worn up under that head coaching hat, that has absolutely nothing to do with X's or O's. Um, Obviously, if the opportunity presented itself, that's something that I would like to step into. Um, but I can't even lie to you. There's a part of me that just says, "Hey, let me run the offense, and then you deal with all that other stuff."
Mhm.
But we'll see. We'll see. What the future holds as far as that. And like I say, if the right opportunity, because it has to be right. Um, I've seen enough to know that you got to have a lot of things in place. Um, you got to have the right administration. You have to have the community. The parents are big. You're not going to win without all those people, in your corner and on your team. So it would have to be the right fit.
When I was, I hate to use that word but back in the day, one of the things that when I was in the college, coaching college, um, and high school in Texas, one of the things that I did was to make sure that my head coach had nothing to worry about. And in essence, what I did was that I made myself the head coach to learn the head coach.
Right.
And and if we spend more time pushing the guy up instead of trying to tear him down from inside, it'll be much better for you, because people, you learn so much from that, because they begin to trust you with it, and they begin to share things with you and everything, and thus it almost make you ready.
Yeah.
Not
So you never fully ready.
no, no way. Your first opportunity, no. I mean,
Right.
um, my first head job was at C.A. Johnson many moons ago,
Right.
and one of my ex-players, who's probably going to be listening to this, he said, and I was talking to somebody, I can't remember, and I said that he said, I never knew all these years that C.A. Johnson was your first head job. And and I told him, I said, yeah. And I was scared as hell when I first met you, because it was a different world. I mean,
Right.
it's something that you never get. And I never really, it took me 3 years to fully understand what a head coach, some of the things that a head coach was supposed to supposed to do.
Right.
You know, I was so much in the X's and O's and everything that, some of this other stuff I just had to learn how to do. Well, boy, this time went by fast. Jeez.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Let me ask you. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, you about to say something? Go. Your show, man.
I'll say I was gonna flip the script on you and ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What is what was the biggest, learning curve with that first head coaching job? So what did you learn that you wish you had known going in?
Organization. You know, I was pretty organized, but not that organized. And the second thing was that learning how to fully get staff involved, so I wouldn't be working myself down to the bone.
Right.
I was literally doing just about everything over there. And not anybody's fault. That's just the
Right.
way I roll. I mean, every place I've been, I've always attempted to outwork everybody else because I want to make sure, it got done.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was never in a position to bring in an entire staff, so I had to learn how to work with the people who were already there. And but that was the biggest curve, and everything else depended upon the actual people, getting the people to be patient. It took us. Well, one year that first year we didn't do. I think won 2 ball games. The next year we won 5 or 6 ball games, and the next year we just blossomed. But a lot of the stuff we were doing, I didn't know I was doing the right thing until later on. But and just getting those kids to believe that that they were winners instead of losers, because
Right.
they had been down for a long period of time. So that was the biggest thing. But the biggest thing being organization, and that's about it.
All right.
Any other questions you have for the old man?
Well, I mean, you got two rings, right? 2 state championships.
We were fortunate enough to do that, yeah.
So with those state championship teams, what other than just talent or having a little more talent, what kind of made those seasons championship seasons?
Goal number 1, we set a goal that we were going to be a state championship team. Number 2, find a philosophy that fit everybody. Do what you could do, the hammer, and define yourself. Get something that you can teach the kids to be successful. Do your homework. And the one thing I did during that period of time was to go and study every team that had won state championships. And what I found out is that all of them ran the ball.
Yeah, run the hammer.
Yeah, and I said, okay, let's see what's the best way that we can run the ball. And
yeah.
So this book was sitting on my table for a long period of time, and I started reading the book. And I said, okay, because literally we did not ever have a quarterback come through there, had that
Right.
school at that time. So,
Right.
but we had big bodies, and it was something that we could do and teach because there was only one guy on staff with experience until I started building that staff up, and that was me. And over the period of time, we added more experienced coaches and everything. But you drill it, and get the weight program going, but just stick with what you were doing, and we stuck with it. And then all of a sudden, the kids believed that it couldn't be stopped.
That's it.
And once they got that, it was pretty easy. And it was just setting a goal, talking about it every day, talking about the dream. because at the end of every practice, I always talked about the dream. One day you'll be playing the last game of the season, and that's what you got to talk about. It not if you're going to do it, but one day you will be playing the last game of the season, and that was always our mantra, to be playing the last game of the football season. And at that time it was South Carolina-Upstate,
Right.
and then we started to change it to Benedict. So that's all. It wasn't that complicated. The hard part was inside the school with other stuff that we were dealing with. At that time, I was a little bit more mature, had a plan, and was able to roll.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
No, I'm done.
No, you're the only one who ever asked me a question. Well, okay. We end the show with this every time we get on, and two people in your life that if you had an hour to sit down with and just have a conversation with that person, one being a football guy or whatever, another one being a non-coach, somebody in regular life, who would those people be and why?
Man, it's pretty deep. Pretty deep.
Mhm.
Oh boy. Eh, well, none football. I would have to. I would have to go. I would have to go with Malcolm X. Um, just to pick his brain on. I mean, whatever. I just sit and listen. I mean, because when you look at his life story, and I tell my students about him. I mean, you're talking about a guy who should have been a statistic. He was a thug, a real thug, in prison.
Mhm.
So he went from prison to being one of the strongest, voices for the civil rights movement. So just how do you make that kind of a transformation in life?
Mhm.
I guess would be the start off question, and then we would just go from there. Um, a football person, ooh, football person. I will have to, maybe go Tony Dungy. Um, and the reason being, what made you think, what made you think outside of the box as far as he was one of those guys who I guess what I'm trying to say is he wasn't the cuss him out, yell him. That wasn't his approach.
Mhm.
So exactly what made him think that would actually work with professional football players. You got all this testosterone flowing, and you got these strong brute guys, but how did he get inside their minds and inside their hearts, um, and make that thing work, and also obviously being the first African American to win the Super Bowl. How did that feel, and where does he see the future of the African American coach? When you think about the Brian Flores situation with Miami Dolphins, and I mean we can talk about the NCAA and how you only have, what is it now? Just it's not even double digits. I don't even think
Mhm.
out of 113 Division One schools. You got your David Shaw at Stanford. You got your guy at Penn State, Michigan State. We're gonna see what the young brother does at Notre Dame. I'm rooting for him, obviously,
Mhm.
Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
But you know, you got a lot of guys, and I'm gonna cheat your question because I'm gonna throw another name in there.
Go ahead.
Um, I would have to go, obviously, Eddie Robinson, Grambling State head coach, and just, what was his philosophy? Um, how did he structure his team, his discipline? How did it feel to be probably one of the greatest football minds, but never given the opportunity to do it at, say, one of the big time institutions. Um, and I don't know. Maybe he didn't even want to. Maybe he had an opportunity to turn it down. I don't know. Uh, Maybe he chose to stay at Grambling State. I don't really know the story if he's ever said whether or not that he had the opportunity to leave and turn it down or not. So those would be my guys, I guess.
Okay. Well, you got Dungy, you got Malcolm, and you got Coach Robinson.
Yes,
That
sir.
is great, man. That is great. Um, did I meet all three of those? I know I met Tony. Been in we had dinner with Tony one night in Dallas.
Wow.
Um, who was that other one that you named?
Eddie Robinson,
Coach.
Coach Eddie Robinson.
I told the guys I was lucky and blessed to be sitting at dinner at one of the coaching the national coaching thing
Right.
years ago, and I would be able to sit at a table not only with Coach Robinson but Coach Gaither from Florida A&M and
Yeah.
Coach Bryan from Alabama at that luncheon, and I thought I died and going to heaven. That
Oh
was,
yeah.
yeah, just moments like that you never change, and as my daddy used to tell me all the time, you know, close your mouth, open your ears,
There
and
you go.
listen. And that's what I did, man. I just sat there and soaked up all that stuff, man, that they were talking about. And believe it or not, those guys respected each other. You can just feel it and you can just see it, how much
Yes.
they had, how much respect they had for them and everything. So
Yeah.
I wish we get back to that point where as young coaches that we start respecting each other and start rooting for each other's success, and and because it's a lot easier to do that. Okay.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to. We got to go. But in closing, you got anything you want to say?
I appreciate you having me on. I'm loving what you're doing. Loving what you're doing. You're giving coaches a platform, giving us opportunity to get our voice out there, get your face out there. Um, like I said, I give shout outs to the coaches like yourself who paved the way. Um, I got to give a shout out to Coach Darryl Page. He's the one that got me kind of into this whole social media. He's all over the place with it. He
Yeah.
started the offensive junkies, and then you got the South Carolina African American Football Association. Got the ball rolling with that. And like you say, root for each other. I don't know. That's just one of my things too. I mean, you see it in the post. So and so got hired. I posted.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm glad to see one of us in that spot.
Yeah.
Even if it's not my name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so as your time is coming. Everybody, just be patient. Keep working. Your time is coming. But congratulate the other guys that's getting those opportunities.
Well, I am so happy that you agreed to come on, man, because I've been looking at you from afar, and the work that you've done, and you keep on doing the good work. Time people know, just work. You don't have to. They'll find you, as I tell the kids. If you can play,
Yes,
they'll
sir.
they'll find you. Well, thanks a lot, man, and I really appreciate you. And you can go now, and you can go to your huddle, or you can go sit down with mama for a while and the kids. Okay, and you
Most
have a
definitely.
good life. And you all play tomorrow night. Who you got?
We're at Pillion tomorrow night.
Okay, okay. Well, good luck to you, man, and give them hell. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, guys. That concludes our show for tonight. Wow, it's great to know that these guys out there doing what we want to do with these young kids and everything. And you know, my heart is just flowing over because you know, you do it right. You know, and again, it's not about us. It's about the kids. It's really about the kids. We're losing our kids. And these guys, as I call them, young lions, or as Darryl called them, young lions, and they're doing the job. Okay. So on top of that, grab somebody, give them a hug, and give them a kiss, and tell them you love them, because maybe the only time someone told them they love them today. Y'all have a good night and see you on Sunday. We got a jam-packed show on Sunday. Got some more young ones coming on here, and an old one. So we'll talk to y'all later, okay? Good night, man, and we'll talk to you later, okay? All right. Good night.